How's it going, everyone? This is Bryce Green here with Big Kid Blocks, and we are excited to drop another YouTube video, one that you guys have all requested so often. We are going to be doing a cut and buff video on this 64.5 Mustang here. So we're going to go over from start to finish, what you're going to need, the steps you're going to take, and how you can really get that full show car finish with your clear coat. So let's go ahead and jump right into it. Now, before we jump into the actual cutting and buffing, I want to go over all the products that I'm going to be using and talk a little bit about them and why we're using these specific products. So for your prep, as you can see, I've kind of got a lot of the areas masked off. So I've ran tape. I've got our Indasa inch and a half tape and our Indasa 3/4 inch tape. And so I run that over all of my open body lines. That way we're not getting wet sand slurry or polishing dust or anything like that falling down into the vehicles and the cracks, which just makes it a lot harder to clean up. Now, I've also got the Indasa cover rolls. These work great to be able just to kind of throw down over an area or over the windshield or anything like that, just to help eliminate any overspray from your buffer or sanding or anything like that. That way you're just trying to keep things really nice and clean. So that's kind of the prep portion of it. Then I've got our Indasa, these Rhino wet sheets. These things are awesome, and I love using these in our shop personally. So what I'll do is I'll take whatever grits I'm going to be using, and I put them into a water bucket. And that's just going to help, again, soften up the edges. That way you don't have to worry about those cutting into your clear coat. And then I've got our Legend detail kit. This is the perfect kit for cutting clear coat. It was specifically designed for wet sanding sheets. So this is the exact length of a wet sanding sheet, and then if you were to fold it in half and tear it, you get this this length right here. Now this kit comes with multiple different sizes and multiple different thicknesses, and the reason for that is you've got your 1/4 inch, which is a little bit more rigid here, all the way down to your 1/16 inch, which is very, very flexible. This way, no matter what area you're working with, you're going to be able to get a block for that specific spot. Now, I just like to take the wet sanding sheets and wrap them around it, and you'll watch me do this in a little bit. And then I just like to hold onto the edge of it and sand it along with my squirt bottle. So that is the detail kit. So we're prepped. We've got our sandpaper loaded. We're sanding everything. We get it all done. Now we're going to jump into the buffing stage of it, and that's where Angel Wax comes into play. Now, I cannot say enough amazing things about Angel Wax. I've been doing this for a long time, and Angel Wax has by far outdone any other wax or polishing compound that I've ever used. You know, we've got the Resurrection, which is the heavy cut. We have the Regenerate, which is the medium cut. And then we have Redemption, which is the final polish, which honestly I've only used this maybe 2 or 3 times. These two right here do an amazing job already. And we've got the pads to go with it, which just makes your life a whole lot easier. So once we drop this video, we're actually going to have a full cut and buff kit. It's going to be called the BAMF kit. That's the Buffing and More Fun kit that will include all of this product that you'll be able to just jump right onto your project, start to finish, and get it done. So now that you know what we're going to be working with, let's go ahead and we're going to do a little bit of cutting and buffing on this section here. So let's get at it. All right, you guys, so for demonstrational purposes, we've got this spot here that has been done in 1500. And so one of the key things that I like to do when I'm cutting clear coat is use guide coat between each step. A lot of people think guide coat is only to identify highs and lows in bodywork and primer work and whatnot, but when you're cutting clear coat, this will fill in all of the sand scratches. So you'll know exactly when you've sanded out all of the sand scratches of that grit before you can move on to the next step. So I'm going to take this 1500. I've got our Indasa dry guide coat here. I love this stuff. You can see how just fine and dark the powder is. It's just really going to get into all of those scratches there. I'll do that. Wipe it off a little bit. Then I'm going to take my 2000 grit sandpaper here. I like to use the Rhino wet sheets from Indasa as well. And then I'm going to take my 5.5 inch block from the Legend kit. This is the 1/4 inch thick one. This is kind of my preferred go-to. I feel like it allows me to control the block really well, still get a good handle and grip on it. And then I personally like to use a squirt bottle. A lot of people will use either a hose or they'll just keep a bucket next to them and keep kind of splashing water on it. I feel like the squirt bottle really just allows me to control how much water I am putting on the panel. And so I'm just going to sand this until all the scratches out. So once I'm done, I'll kind of show you guys what I'm talking about with the sand scratches left in this. All right, so now we've gone ahead and we've sanded all of the guide coat off with our 2000 grit, so we are now ready to jump into the DA portion of this. So I've got Trizact discs, 3000 and 5000, and so I'm going to hit this first with the 3000, wipe it off really good, and then hit it again with the 5000, and this is really going to give me a nice uniform finish to make sure that when we're buffing it, we're going through it as quick as possible and not wasting a bunch of time trying to get sand scratches out. So let's jump into this part. All right, we are ready to jump to the polishing portion of this project. So here's a few things I want to go over before we jump into it. Now, you have the option of using either a rotary polisher or a DA polisher. So a rotary is your kind of old school, just circular fashion at a really high speed, kind of a bigger pad. I prefer to use the DA orbital polisher. This just gives me a nice uniform cut. And I like the fact that I can control my heat a lot better with this than I can a rotary. So again, this is just my preference, but I'm always going to jump to the DA style polisher. Now, here's another thing that most people are very common with is using a wool pad to do their initial cut. We do offer the Angel Wax wool pads as well. I think they work great, but I love using the microfiber cutting pad from Angel Wax. Again, this is stuff that we all have on our website, and we're also going to be offering a full kit that has all of these products that I'm talking about, so you can jump right into the project start to finish and get it all done with all the products you're seeing us use. So again, I like to use a microfiber. I feel like it just cuts more aggressive, and it allows me to manipulate the clear coat a little bit better than the wool pad. And wool pads, they just always make a mess of everything, and you get dust and wool chunks all over your shop, and I'm not into that. I don't really care for it. So now we're going to be moving on to the polishing, and so we've got our 5000 grit, and you can see it's got a really nice uniform finish all over it. I want to make sure that I've wiped it down so that there's no contaminants on it, because nothing is worse than doing all this work sanding it, and then you get one little speck of, it could be sand, could be metal, could be anything, and then you put your polisher down, and your polisher just starts putting all these fat pigtails all over your freshly cut surface. So it's clean, we're good to go. I'm going to be using my DA with the microfiber cutting pad, and then I'm going to use our Angel Wax Resurrection. This is the heavy cut compound. Now trust me, I have used every single polish out there for years. And this, hands down, completely kicks the butt of every other polish I've ever tried. It cuts quicker, and it leaves a gloss from the heavy cut stage that is way past most second or third stage polishes are doing. So microfiber with the Resurrection, less is more, so I'm just going to put about 3 drops here on my pad, and then I am going to jump right to it. Now, one thing to keep in mind is your cord or even your hose when you're using the DA sander is, where is it? You don't want the edge of it to be kind of flopping against everything that you've already done already. So I just like to throw it over my shoulder, that way I don't have to worry about it. And here we go. All right, so you guys can see that was all I did was a vertical and then 1 horizontal pass. It took about 30 seconds, and you can already see the difference between the sanded and polished side. Now, if you kind of look up, you can see where the sand scratches are still there, where I just was kind of on the edge and didn't spend a lot of time up there. But towards the middle, you can see how well this Angel Wax Resurrection really cuts along with the microfiber pad. So I bet another maybe 2 minutes and I'll be able to have this all polished out and there won't be any sand scratches. So let's jump back into it and get it done. So there you have it. That was maybe about 2-3 minutes of polishing this section. And you can already see we've got all the sand scratches out. It's got a really nice gloss to it. And we can from here jump into the next stages of Resurrection with the foam pad, and then into the second stage. And honestly, the second stage is as far as I'll ever go with the Angel Wax. I feel like the third stage, their Redemption, is kind of overkill. You don't really need it, because by the second stage with the foam pads, you're already golden on that. And I'll talk a little bit more about that when I go over the product of everything. And so as I'm doing the polishing stage of this, again, I'm doing a nice vertical and horizontal pattern, and I'm keeping the pad completely flat against the surface because I want it to generate some heat, because that's what you're really trying to do, is get the clear coat to heat up a little bit so you can manipulate it and help remove a lot of those scratches. And so that's why I'll just kind of touch the panel as I go. I want to make sure it's nice and warm, but it's not burning hot. That means you're spending way too long in one area, and you can actually burn the clear coat and create issues with it. So just be really methodical and gentle as you go along with the whole thing. Kind of let the weight of the polisher do itself, and you'll get yourself a really nice glossy finish like you see here on this hood. Alrighty, now you've seen the process start to finish, and you've seen a lot of the products that we use. And like I said, I was going to touch base a little bit more on the Angel Wax stuff. So this was what I was polishing this hood out with, was the Angel Wax Resurrection. This is the heavy cut compound, and I was using the microfiber pad here. And then usually all I'll ever finish a vehicle out with is Regenerate, which is the medium cut polish, with the heavy cut foam pad, which is the maroon one. And then I'll usually hit it off with the orange pad, which is the medium cut, kind of a polish to it. And I'll usually stop there. Now, if you're going to a show or you've got a black car, you can definitely hit it with the Redemption if you want. But again, I personally have never really used this more than 2-3 times on vehicles. So I feel like these two give you amazing results from start to finish. And so this is kind of all I'll ever really recommend for people, unless they need the Redemption on a black vehicle or something like that. So yeah, again, thank you guys so much for watching. If you have any questions, please in the comments let us know, or hit us up on our social media pages, Big Kid Blocks on Instagram and Facebook. We're there, always there, answering you guys' questions and helping out however we can. So stay tuned for our next video that we'll be dropping in a couple weeks. Thanks, guys.